Hello everybody, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but I'm going to try and condense things down as much as I can. Because it's going to be a longer video, like I just said, if you check in the very bottom of the video here, you'll see timestamps. Those timestamps will be relevant for the information that we talk about. So you can skip ahead if you're an a-hole and don't want to listen to the stuff that I've said, or if you have listened to this video already and you just need to use it for reference, yeah, go ahead. Use those timestamps. A lot has happened since the last video that I have posted. I went back to school, bunch of other stuff like that. Met the girl of my dreams, having a kid, moved into a different place. Yeah, boatload of stuff. But I won't go too far down that rabbit hole. I want to use this time actually to end up giving a shout out to a particular channel. Brothy1322. If you don't know the guy, definitely end up hopping onto YouTube and giving his channel a quick search. He's got tons of really relevant information and good testing that he's been doing for a long time pertaining to the cars and Grand Theft Auto. All around good guy, hell of a lot better than a lot of the other YouTubers who make content for Grand Theft Auto 5, not pointing any fingers. Wink, wink, hint, hint. But all joking aside, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope that this stuff ends up helping you guys until Rothy ends up producing a more comprehensive video like I know he will. Alright, downforce. What is it? Why should we care about it? Well, downward force, exactly as the name explains, is a downward force on the car. Now, why is a downward force on the car so important? So as your car is traveling forwards, you're going to end up having air naturally flow over top of it, being disrupted by the body panels and the wings on the car. This ends up creating a little bit of a downward force on the body of the car, pushing the tires into the ground, giving it that sticking, that traction around the corners. And that's what allows a vehicle to go fast around the corners. F1 cars are able to take corners at ridiculous speeds, over 200 kilometers an hour. But let's say we need more downforce because we need to go through a corner and not slide at a higher rate of speed. We could strap barn doors to the car, creating extra downforce, but this is also a problem because the more downforce that you get, the more air that you're redirecting, the more resistance that's being placed on that car, the slower that car is going to travel through the air. Let's say you had enough downforce to be able to make this corner. Your line might look something like this, assuming that the track continued straight after this and you didn't have another corner. Well, let's say you didn't have enough downforce and you tried to make the corner at the same speed. At the same speed, you'd probably end up somewhere out there at best. Or you just go off into where it says downforce explained. Grand Theft Auto's online open wheel series kind of falls apart in this way, at least from my early testing. My early testing shows that if you don't have enough downforce, it actually, regardless of speed, won't let you turn in as hard. That, in the real world, is closer to what your suspension system, your camber, your caster, air pressures in your tires, and anti-roll bars will end up doing, not downforce. But in the game, it's all encompassed by the hidden statistics that changing the front and rear wings have on your car. So to make corners tighter, more downforce is required. Alright, track testing. Okay, so for each of these downforce settings, I broke it up into the top speed that the vehicle was able to achieve, and then followed by the fastest lap that the vehicle was able to achieve. It just gives you a nice mix, gets you to see the car going around the track, and shows you what the proper racing line should be about for this track. Now, I'm no expert, but I have done a lot of kart racing. I've raced for 13 years, and I've raced against some of the best in Canada, so I'm not saying that I'm qualified, but I am probably a little bit more qualified than the average Joe. Besides the point, lowest downforce was the hardest, by far, to be able to put around the track. This car wanted to push through all the corners, as you've seen right there through the S's. It really struggled to be able to actually make the turns, and I had to brake Fastest time that I was able to get this thing around the track was a 59.8 and the average time of a 101. Handbrake. You have to actually use the handbrake because the lowest downforce doesn't have enough turn in. It wants to understeer all the corners. It's awful. Stock downforce gave us far better performance. Speed again was relatively high. We achieved 120 at about the highest. Right when we turned, we got 121 there. The fastest time that I was actually able to get this thing around the track was a 58.5, and the average being better than the fastest time that I was able to get from the lowest downforce setting of 59.67. You'll notice that when I go around the corners here, the car is just a lot more planted. It's a lot more stable. It doesn't give me any real kind of trouble. It still is one of those things where every once in a while I have to lift or brake a little bit harder than I want to in certain sections, but it's a nice mix. And even with the mostly worn out tires that are only probably going to give me about another lap or half a lap, I was able to set this super fast time around the track. So yeah, much prefer the stock downforce setting to the low downforce setting, even though the low downforce setting gave us a little bit of a faster speed, we'll say. Speed isn't everything, guys. Consistency is more important, and being able to turn is most important. Speaking of being able to turn, the max downforce setting really didn't give us much when it came to top speeds, but oh boy, come the corners, this thing was a rocket ship. You'll notice that I don't really have to do much here. I just turn, and I'm where I need to be. I turn, and I'm where I need to be, and I turn, and I'm where I need to be. Even there, like I didn't even turn as hard as I could have. The one downside I'll say though to the max downforce is that because you're going so slow and your foot is always on the accelerator, you never get a chance to build up the boost that you need. And because of that, the max downforce setting was able to give us a really fast lap time of a 57.85 and would probably be very, very good around short tracks. But on average, the max downforce was only able to give us a time of 1 minute flat, pretty much. So 57.85 seconds being the fastest, and it actually was my new fastest lap at the time. And then I decided to go for a little bit of a fun one, a mix, a hybrid if you will. It gave us a little bit of better speed, and actually I didn't even do a different lap. The very first lap that I actually did once I had the KERS boost is where I set my fastest lap with the fresh tires. Where this one kind of fails is that because I'm running such a difference between the front downforce, which gives me the ability to make those tight turns, but not so much in the back, is when you go over the bumps, you'll hear the tires try and like slide out on the back end, and it makes it a little bit unstable. And for a more unexperienced driver, it can be a bit of a challenge once you start to get that big spread going there. But as expected, even without having like all of my lines perfect, this was able to yield the best time of a 57.71 and the most quickest average of a 59.3. Takeaways, the roundup, the last little bit of this video. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I created a little list and I put it up in the top right corner of the screen here, pros and cons. A lot of it isn't really all that shocking. Low downforce obviously gave us the fastest speed, but couldn't corner at all. I would not recommend this setup to anybody. If you're going to side on the lower side of downforce, like stock, for example, you might be able to turn some okay times if you're a very experienced driver or are on some tracks that have long straights, but currently there isn't really any tracks in the open wheel racing series that are all that great for this. Most of them are tailored towards the high downforce side of things, which most of the drivers, new and experienced, are going to find themselves really benefiting from. Things that I did find that was really cool is the soft tire composition really wore a lot quicker when we were running extreme low downforces, almost twice as fast as when we were running the maximum downforce. What I would suggest to most people, stay on the higher side of downforce and don't go lower than stock. Pay attention to, once you hear that audible beeping noise, your tires are going to be done within the next couple of corners. That's what that little picture is that I put up there. Very subtle differences, but if you memorize those colors, I promise you, you'll be good. Other than that, check out my channel and look at the other videos that I have. Other Grand Theft Auto 5 stuff that I've posted in the past, I posted one on the VIP update, which only got a couple hundred views as opposed to the millions of views we used to get on the channel. Um, I'd like to get back there if we can, so pass this video around. And also check out that video that I just talked about. We talked about the Galaxy Super Yachts and the VIP update, just to tell you how long ago this was. Really good one. It'll show you a thing or two you probably didn't know because nobody else on YouTube talked about it or bothered to spend the time like I did on it. Thanks again for watching, guys.